Hi, today we are going to practice adding fractions and mixed numbers, okay? So the first one that we're going to do is 3/8 plus 4/8. Okay, so remember the top number is called a numerator and the bottom number is called a denominator. So we're really just going to keep our denominator the same because we're talking about eighths. We have 3/8 here, 4/8 here, and we're just going to add them, and it will give us a total number of eighths. So 3 plus 4 is 7. So our answer is 7/8. Okay, let's get a little more tricky. Let's do 5/6 plus 3/6. Okay, again, since both of our number is talking about sixths, we're going to keep that in the denominator. So we have 5/6 plus 3/6, and that is going to give us 8/6. Now, most of the time we wouldn't want to write our answer like that. We want to reduce it. So the first thing I'm going to ask myself is, how many wholes do I have? 6 sixths make a whole, and I have 8 of them, which means I have one whole, because that is 6 sixths, and then I would have 2 sixths left over. Okay, the last thing that we're going to do is reduce this number. So you just want to think, what is a number that goes into both 2 and 6? And that number is 2. 2 goes into 2 once, and 2 goes into 6 3 times. So even though this is the right answer, we just want to reduce our answer. So our final answer is going to be 1 1/3. Okay, let's keep going, a little more difficult. Let's say we don't have the same denominator. We don't have two numbers that both have 6 or both have 8. Let's do 4/5 plus 3/4. Okay, so these ones are just a little bit more tricky just because we don't have the same denominator, and we want to have the same denominator. So you're going to think, what is the smallest number that 5 and 4 both go into? And if you can't think of the smallest number that they both go into, you can always multiply those numbers together, and that will give you a number that they both go into. And in this case, 5 times 4 is 20, and 20 is the smallest number that both of these denominators can go into evenly. So I'm going to take 4/5, and I'm going to change it to 20ths, and I'm going to do the same thing to 3/4. Okay. And changing fifths to 20ths and 4 to 20ths isn't going to change our value. We're just going to cut that up into smaller pieces. 20ths are a lot smaller than fifths or fourths, but we're still going to have the same quantity. It's kind of like thinking a nickel is the same as 5 pennies, but they're different, they look different, but they're the same amount. They would buy you the same thing. Okay, so 5 times 4 is 20. 4 times 4 is 16. So here's our equivalent fraction to 4/5. Let's do the same thing here. 4 times 5 is 20. 3 times 5 is 15. Okay, so our new problem is going to read 16/20ths plus 15/20ths. Now I have a common denominator, and I can just add my numerators and keep my denominator. Okay. 20 stays on the bottom, and 16 plus 15 is 31. Okay, we're almost done. We want to do the same thing we did on the last problem and figure out how many wholes we have. So keep in mind, 20/20ths make a whole, so I have at least one, and then I'm going to have some left over. And if you can't do that in your head, you can just go 31 minus 20 would give me 11. So I would have 11/20ths left over. This answer again is correct. We just want to write it as a mixed number to reduce it, okay? And then the last question I'm going to ask is there a number besides 1 that goes into both 11 and 20? And there is not, so we are done with this problem. Okay, let's try adding mixed numbers with different denominators. Let's say we have 1 1/2 plus 2 3/7. Okay, so we have a couple things going on. The first thing I'm going to do is just kind of look at these fractions. I want to think, what is the smallest number that 2 and 7 go into? And lucky enough, again, we could just multiply those numbers together, and that will tell us what that number is in this case. 2 times 7 is 14, so I know 2 goes into 14, and I know 7 goes into 14. So I'm going to take those fractions and change both of them to 14s. Okay. 2 times 7 is 14, so 1 times 7 is 7. 7 times 2 is 14. 3 times 2 is 6. Okay, so my new problem is going to read 7 14ths plus 6 14ths. And remember, I didn't change the value of anything. Just like you don't change the value of turning in 5 $1 bills and getting a $5 bill, you still have the same amount of money. It just looks a little different. 14 is in smaller pieces, but it still holds the same value. Okay, so I am going to keep my denominator, 14, and I am just going to add 7 plus 6, and that is 13. The only thing I have to do next is remember to add in these mixed numbers that I had in the beginning, these whole numbers, and I have 1 plus 2, which equals 3, and then I already added my fractions and got 13 14ths. Okay, let's do one more. Okay, 3 and 5 eighths plus 4 sevenths. Okay, we have different denominators, so our first step again is to think, what is the smallest number that 8 and 7 both go into? Or if you can't think of the smallest, remember you can just multiply them together and that will tell you a number they both go into. So 7 and 8 both go into the number 56. 56 is 7 times 8. 5, 6, 7, 8. So I'm going to change both of these fractions to a denominator of 56. Okay, 8 times 7 is 56. 5 times 7 is 35. 7 times 8 is 56. 4 times 8 is 32. Okay, so we're going to keep the denominator the same. Just add our numerators. So 35 plus 32 is 67. And 56, we just keep that. Okay, we've got just a couple more things to do. We have more than 56 56ths. So I'm going to change this into a mixed number. We have one whole, and then how many left over do we have? If you can't do that in your head, remember we can always go 67 minus 56, and we'll get 11. So we're going to have 1 and 11 56ths, and we can't forget to add in this 3. And we don't have any whole numbers here, so we don't need to worry about that. So 3 plus this one that we already have will give us 4. And we cannot reduce 11 56 because there is no number that goes into both of those evenly besides the number 1. And there you have it. If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe so you can keep up on your math skills and continue practicing with me.